do these two people have in common? Yeah. That's obviously a tricky one, I admit. The answer is that they both absolutely terrify me for very different reasons. Thierry Henry's speed, skill and agility used to keep me awake at night. And so does the prospect of President Trump. As far as he's concerned, the race for the nomination is over. After winning 5 more states, he claims he's now certain to become the Republican candidate for president. Last night, he even made a big speech on foreign policy. And in fact, he tried to sound like a statesman.
The world must know that we do not go abroad in search of enemies, that we are always happy when old enemies become friends and when old friends become allies.
But don't be fooled. This was him just a few days ago talking about his rival candidate.
He has a news conference all the time when he's eating. I have never seen a human being eat in such a disgusting fashion. This guy takes a pancake and he's shoving it in his mouth. It's disgusting. Do you want that for your president? I don't think so.
Trump has got this far by generating controversy and whipping up a frenzy of support along the way. But that's exactly what worries me. The politics of polarisation, of them and us, is becoming acceptable. And Trump is not just controversial, he's dangerous.
What is this fascination with the way that people eat, by the way? Because wasn't we doing it all with, was it Ed Miliband and a bacon sandwich hanging out of his mouth or
It's all to do with etiquette.
Yeah, I saw way too much of that.
But... etiquette.
Yeah, I like what you did. But so joking aside, I know what you're saying. I don't think that Trump will be the president. I do think he'll be the nominee. And I think that that is because people are voting for him because they want to. And that is, you know, it's democracy, it's doing what it wants. This is who they want to vote for, they're doing it. I think the reason that they're voting for him, I almost see it as a middle finger vote, if you like. I think that people are so fed up in lots of cases with what they deem as the political elite. They've got this guy at the Tangerine Tornado, I heard him refer to the other day, which made me laugh. But there's this guy who, in lots of cases, he sounds like them. He's using the language that they're using. He's having the kind of conversations that they're having with their friends at home. And people are relating to that. And I think that there's a lot that some politicians can learn from the fact that people do want somebody standing in front of them that's going to be able to relate to them. And I think that's what his kind of surge and his popularity is coming from. I don't think he'll be president because I don't think there's any kind of substance between any of the ludicrous statements that he makes. Yeah, not only is he getting this far, he's progressing further and with bigger margins than we've previously seen before. But what you have is when you have two of his fellow contendees, if you like, colluding against him and saying, let's create this kind of pact to get rid of him, people don't like that. It's wrong. And as he said himself, if you colluded that way in business or a stock market, you get done for it. But yet people in politics are trying to do that, and people will rebel against that.
Do you think, Emma, this type of politics, given what we've just been speaking about, do you think this type of politics, pointing the finger and saying to people, I'm better than you, I'm wealthier than you, I'm stronger than you, do you think that's a dangerous precedent?
Of course it's dangerous, and it is very worrying. And our enemies, the West's enemies, will use, if he was to become president, will use this against us to say, look what your system threw up and provided. But let's not forget, Ronald Reagan, he was an actor. The press here thought he was a complete fool. You know, we've had this before. We've looked across the pond and we've seen what's going on. And I think and we've not liked it. And the Americans themselves, I was recently in America. I was in Oklahoma City at the anniversary of the bombing there. And I was with people just after Super Tuesday who'd voted for Trump. I was having dinner with them. And actually, you can't be patronising. It's their view. It's what they want. They aspire.
What are you both frightened about?
Sorry, just
what
let me...
are you frightened about?
Can I finish this point?
Well, I hope it's a good one.
It will be.
I'll be the judge of that.
Thank you. The issue is, he's got no experience for me, right? Electing people who have had absolutely zero... He's not even been, like Bush Jr., a governor.
Right, I'm sorry to embarrass you. Neither was Boris Johnson, right? And he's the best mayor
Hold on,
London
right, Tony Blair, he barely had any experience.
Boris has been a tremendous mayor for London. You don't need to have experience.
You don't need it.
I think it's an advantage
I think it's,
not having it.
I wish more businessmen and women would come into politics rather than just be bag carriers and things. I think it's fantastic news. But I
what about Barack Obama?
So on the basis...
Well, he was a lawyer. Yeah, go on.
You don't think it's a frightening prospect, the fact that he's anything that he says...
Graham, what frightens you? Or
Okay,
do you want Thierry Henry to be president? That's what I couldn't quite understand.
Well, at least he might have more of a fact-based argument.
But genuinely, you're a smart bloke, what frightens you?
The fact that he is... Everything that he says, for me, is without account, because by the time you've analysed what he said, he's moved on to the next offensive or inaccurate thing. And whilst I understand he will tone his agenda down the closer he gets, and it might be a big game for him to get headlines, but it's just the fact that he doesn't live in a reality, and that people, as Michelle says, seem to support him in droves because he's oversimplified I think he's oversimplified the role and the arguments. Rachel?
I think even though the money says that Hillary's still got 75% chance of winning and Trump has got only 25%, everybody keeps counting Trump out, and keeps getting bigger. Yeah. And as he says, he's the heir presumptive, and also, as well as the heir presumptive, the Freak tan presumptive. And what was going on there? The thing is with Trump is that things he says, like we should put a temporary ban on Muslims, which everybody discounts and says that's crazy, that's not America. There were exit polls in the last 5 primaries. Republicans who'd voted were coming out. The approval rating of the ban on Muslims was running above 65% in all 5 states. So what happens is he says something that sounds crazy, fiery, as against Hopi Sherry, and everyone says that's ridiculous, but it soon becomes the Republican orthodoxy.
And it becomes the new reality.
And he's soon becoming the Republican orthodoxy.
What I love is he wants to ban immigrants. He wouldn't have had 2 of his 3 wives if he bans immigrants.
But do you genuinely feel comfortable or OK with the fact that somebody with that little regard is doing so well?
Yeah, I don't know. I pick up entirely what Michelle said. I think you said it was a middle finger vote or something like that. It is why we have seen. It is why Jeremy Corbyn achieved what he did for the Labour Party, because he wasn't the traditional politician. It's why Nigel Farage, or is it Farage? I'm not quite sure. David Cameron told me how to pronounce that. But it's why these people. It's why Boris Johnson. It's why Alex Salmond. They are of the people. Traditional politicians. People are bored with traditional politicians.
But does that lead to extremism then? In terms of political extremism, so Le Pen in France,
yes,
you get a backlash because the pendulum will swing so far the other way as a protest vote that you actually end up with unintended consequences.
But I like what Rachel said, so we want to note this down because this is a first. Yeah. But I think we probably are. We probably are in a crazy theory world. We probably are. So that whoever gives the best crazy theory will probably get. But you don't surely want Hillary. I mean, you talk about Donald Trump not of the real world. Hillary Clinton is.
But I just feel that there's a better team behind her. And she'll be more controllable than Trump.
Forget the team.
Well,
Hillary doesn't need a team. Hillary is Hillary. Hillary has got the experience. She knows how it works. She has not only been in the very rare position of being the wife of the president, she's held the role herself. She's gone in, essentially, as Obama's number 2. And she did, for all intents and purposes, a good job. You can't deny that.
Oh, tell me what the good job she did.
Hang on a minute, Nick.
Tell me about her career highs.
Let me just ask you a question. And I'm sorry to accuse you of this maybe so early in our time on this show. What did you make of when Donald Trump said quite recently, earlier this week, that, she's only got this far because she's a woman?
Playing the woman card.
That was a low blow. He shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said it.
Shouldn't have said it.
But he probably believes it.
Her answer to that was...
You have to ask him that, but you shouldn't have said it.
Her answer to that was... Deal me in. Yeah. I am going to play the woman card. I'm proud of it, and I'm going to probably nominate a female running mate, and I'm going to beat you, Donald.
But back to Trump. Does he scare you in the sense that the prejudice that and the stereotyping that surely?
Of course.
Surely,
of course, it's concerning. However, we also know what goes on in American politics, as we've seen with Barack Obama, is if the Senate don't like you, they stop you from having any power. There are balances and systems and checks, and if a Hollywood actor can take the White House, so can Donald Trump. But there will be people to control the Donald or the Trump or the Orange Meister or whatever you want to call it.
Otherwise, we're getting Saddam Hussein, but he's got nuclear weapons this time.